let you in on a little secret. Yeah. The real deal. Some super secret kind of handshake stuff. Yeah. But I gotta know if you're ready for it. Are you ready? I just gotta make sure no one's watching. Because if the wrong people find out I'm telling you what I'm about to tell you. Hi, my name's Jack. Welcome back to the Jackverse. Today, I am going to tell you my super secret to writing good dialogue. That's right. After a moment, it will no longer be a secret. Now, as most of you know, I come from the land down under. No, that's not it. I come from the land of the ice and snow. No. I come about a career of writing not by your normal means, right? I did not study creative writing. I do not have a degree in English. I have a bachelor's degree in theater communications and a master's degree in acting. Now, it was because of that study in acting that I came across this super secret method of writing good dialogue. And now I'm going to pass it on to you. As an actor, one of the things you must know and that you must employ is what is often referred to as acting with intent. Your character must have intention. Now, what is that? Acting with intent is acting consciously, with full consciousness, with full awareness of what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing. So instead of going into a scene just reciting dialogue, you go into a scene with an intent, with a purpose. So you know exactly what you want to get out of the scene. And of course there are a lot of other things that go into acting. Anyone that tells you that acting is simple is just fooling you. You know, there's given circumstances and all sorts of other wonderful, wonderful things that we actors use. But I want to talk about intent as it applies, as it applies to dialogue. If you write a scene with two people in it, and you just write two generic people with a generic scene, that dialogue is going to come out, everybody say it with me, generic. But what happens when those two characters each have an intent, an intention? They want to get something out of that scene. So let's say, for example, you have a man and a woman, or a man and a man, it doesn't really matter who it is, and they are partners, lovers, whatever, okay? So you're going to write, I don't know, you're going to write a romantic scene, okay? So you can approach that romantic scene as just your normal old romantic scene, and you might write some nice little romantic dialogue, and in the end, you have a scene that may or may not be romantic. But what if, however, you approach that scene and one of those characters' intent is to seduce the innocence away from the character? Now we have intent. And everything that you write, all of the dialogue that you write from that character's perspective is going to be very different if you had just written a romantic scene, right? Now, of course, you can always use subtext and a lot of other tricks. But as long as that character has an intention, the dialogue is going to be much better. Now, we can take that much further and make it specific. The intention I gave you for that romantic scene was pretty specific. Instead of just saying the general intent would be to seduce. Okay. Now, of course, the idea of seducing a character brings about a lot of different images. But when we make it specific, if we say, I'm going to seduce the innocence away from my partner, now we're starting to get a little specific, right? Or let's say there's something else going on, and the one character, his intention or her intention is to seduce the truth out of their partner. See what I'm getting at? If you approach that scene with that in mind, the dialogue is going to be very, very different than it would have been had you just written a romantic scene. And this, of course, can go all different ways. It doesn't have to just go with a romantic scene. You can have just a general scene, but the intent of one character is to drag the truth out of the partner, right? Or drag a confession, beat a confession out of the partner. Now, of course, obviously, you can have the character physically, literally beating that other partner, but what happens when you approach the scene with the character, with their words, beating a confession out of the partner? Aha. Now you're starting to see some images, right? And those images are very specific. Okay? Maybe you're thinking of the good cop, bad cop scene, where you have one character constantly just hammering the person across the table. They're chained up to the table, and they're just pummeling the character with words and accusations and all sorts of things. But that is the trick. It's simple, or on the surface, it's very simple. Now, of course, it's actually much more complicated than that. But at least you now know this little trick on making your dialogue sing. Now, I highly recommend that you look into this much further. There are plenty of textbooks that you can read about acting with intent. I've taught acting classes on a number of occasions, most recently at the University of Louisville, and one of the most important things that I try to pull from my actors is specificity. And the specificity of intent will drive your dialogue to new heights. Your dialogue will be better than it's ever been. But you've got to really and purposefully approach these scenes with this intent. And the intent for each character is going to be different. You can have the intention of the scene. Of course, you have to have that. But the intention for character A and the intention for character B might be different. And in fact, they might be combative. They might be polar opposites. And that is going to make your scenes so much better. It's the little things. Little things. We all love the little things. And this is something that you can put in play very easily. Okay? So go back to some of those scenes you've written, or the book you're currently writing, and look to see if those characters have intent, or if it's just generic wants and needs. And if it's generic, go back and make it specific. And make those intentions very specific. And I promise you, that dialogue will be so much better than it were if they were just generic. Because generality is the enemy of art. And now, you know my little secret. So